Hi, my name's John. Welcome to another Sunday night nightcap. As you're sitting watching this nightcap, I should be driving up the M1 on the way back from the Classic Car Show at the NEC in Birmingham. I've been down there all weekend with my friend and channel sponsor Rob from Extreme Plasma, Extreme Engineering. I've had the wife Deb down and hopefully we've had a good time, and hopefully we're still speaking as we're driving up here. Anyway, tonight's nightcap's a bit of a strange one. It'll be a two-part one. And what it was that little Wolf tool post grinder I bought second hand. I stripped that and put some bearings in and sort of try and get it working again. That'll be part one, part two, possibly part three if I get the last little bit of editing done. Anyway, it's enough talking, let's get on and you watch the video. This come up on the local advertising site. It's a Wolf tool post grinder. I bought it for not a great lot of money. I think it'll be quite a useful thing to have on the lathe because I do quite a lot of gearbox shafts, and you can machine to a really accurate dimension with these and get a good finish. The wiring on it obviously needs replacing. The lad said he's had it for 30 years and he's never turned it on in 30 years. It has got a plug on. It's also got a 30-year-old grinding wheel on, so we're not going to be spinning that. But what I'll do is I'll take the guard off and I'll plug it in and make sure the motor works. He assures me it does. We'll take the belt guard off. It doesn't appear to have had much use because the nut on the end of there is in good condition, and that normally gets a lot of abuse. Obviously I want to put some new wire on it, and I'll probably put a set of bearings in it depending on what the bearings actually feel like. See, it's just for that belt. Like I see, it's stood for 30 years, so you wouldn't expect it to move quite easily. That's the drive belt for it. Right, that feels really rough. The spindle feels very nice, but the bearings in the motor are probably shot. Right, I'm going to plug it in and carefully turn it on and see what happens, just to make sure it does run. Right, it's got power going to it now. Right, it does indeed run. So the first thing I'll do is make sure I'm not tempered anymore. We'll have the wire off, have it scrapped. That's really old stuff. It's got the old colours in. Green earth, red and black. That's a bit of proper old wire. Quite a modern-ish plug because the old plugs that was brass all the way down. I often buy them from car boot sales with the plug on with brass because you can get a bit more power through. But that's destined for the scrap bin. Take the motor off the base. Definitely noisy bearings in there somewhere. This part, that feels very nice. There's no play in it at all. I'll take this end cover off first. See what nasty's lurk inside of there. I'm not going to restore this, I'm just going to clean it up and make it safe to use. There's a bearing in the end of there. It looks very, very dry. Commutator looks to be in good condition. Very good wear on it. Have a little look at one of the brushes. Doesn't want to come out, so we'll leave it in there for the minute. No need to take it out. I'm sure it'll be in good condition. You basically need to take this off here, that end off, the brushes out, and the commutator should come out, and we can see what we're dealing with the bearings. So we've got this screwed on. It hasn't been to bits before, it's not bastardised. Not bastardised yet anyway. That come off surprisingly easy. That come off amazingly easily. Was not expecting that. There's a little pin there, little drive pin. Right. Got a handy little receptacle for the parts. The rear of the motor cover. A brass screw, obviously a quality bit of kit. I've got a Wolf belch grinder with big, oh look at that, that's not so good. That's the sort of fault you find. The insulation is completely rotted. That's why you don't plug things in before they're rewired. The wiring from the switch into the field windings looks alright. I'm going to leave two little bits on there just so I know which is live, which is neutral. Right there underneath that. going to put a little mark on there so I know which way it goes back together. I think that screw will need to come out the end of there. I'll probably have to sharpen the screw that I've got to fit into it nicely. That's not a bad fit. Unbelievable, I can't believe how easy it is coming apart. Things normally fight me. Right. I think if that little pin was out of the other end cover should come off. Sure, that's not going to come out easily. Absolutely unbelievable. It's just pulled out. Alright, so now this end cover should come off. Carefully with a bit exploratory poke at it. Not a lot moving, but we've definitely got a dead bearing in there somewhere. I think I'll take it to the vise and give it a gentle tap on it and see what happens. Right, it did in fact give in quite easily. Right, so there's the armature out of it. And that front bearing is completely shot. This all looks in decent condition. Field windings look good. And that bearing there is also completely knackered. I don't think we need to strip much more from this. Two grub screws down there that hold the plate in, and that bearing will go out that way. I might actually have some bearings for this. I've got some old imperial size bearings. There's a little grub screw on there. I wonder if that's what holds that brush carrier in. Little grub screw. Again, you see the state the wiring has completely perished. That's the power cables actually go behind there. It's got to go in over. There's no screw on that side, so I'll have a little exploratory tap at that. If a switch will come out of there, it went in, so it should come out. And what if the wires were taken out? We don't want to be disturbing that end. Right, I think that wire there has been sprung over the top of that. All you need to do is get 2 new wires through there, which I'm sure I will. Right, we'll have a look at this end. Not quite sure how that comes out of there. It probably just taps down, I'm not sure. We'll give it a gentle tap. Some holes in there where it's being balanced. Balance holes, because it obviously does quite a high RPM being a grinder. An exploratory little the spacer cover. I can see some bearing numbers in there. Not much happening there, so we'll have a little bit more think about that one. Right, this one here, there's definitely a bearing cap down there with 2 nuts, or 2 little bolts in it, so we can get them out. Switch has been a little bit of a pain in the arse. Yeah. I think it's going to end up coming out. So that wire in there is in reasonable condition. I'll take a picture of it and then I'll take them out. As I say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Right. And there's a 2-pole switch. It switches live and neutral at the same time. Right, so we've got that out. One more bearing retaining screw in there. Or bearing cap retainer anyway. Right, that only. There's a space underneath there. It's like an old leather type of seal, that. Right, and we've got a bearing in there. That bearing should just knock out. Nothing else in there to hold it in, just that little plate. Right, that's the first one out. It's got numbers on it, so we'll be able to get that, no problem at all. Probably able to put a seal bearing in there. Right, so that's one bearing out. That wire there appears to be fastened to a spring that goes around the end of the insulator for the brush. Appears to be. I just need to get them wires out from behind there. Right, we'll leave that bit for the minute. We need the other bearing out. I'm pretty confident it just knocks out of there. I don't see any other way of it being fastened in there. I'll take it to the vise and give it a gentle tap across there. Right, indeed it just tops out. That bearing there is absolutely... The bearings are probably alright, there's just no grease left in them. But I will replace them, so we've got to get that bearing off there. Carefully, that we don't damage the shaft. What you don't do is poke toad screwdrivers in and give it a good yorking, because you will damage that. I may actually cut the bearing off, I don't know, but I can see the bearing numbers. So I'll order 2 bearings for it. It's going to be a nice little unit this when it's finished. See, there's no wear on the commutator at all. It's done little work, if any. Now what you don't use emery tape to clean these, because the emery causes all kinds of problems. If you need to sand them, you use sandpaper, glass paper, like the stuff that the wood butchers use. This bearing here is a special one. It's a double double race one. I think what I'll do, I'll try and wash this out and see what it's actually like inside. I don't think there'll be any damage on it. I think it'll just be dry and possibly be packing with a quality grease. I'll be able to reuse that one, because that'll be expensive. Right, I've washed it out with some brake cleaner, and the bearing is ruined. It's got a horrible pitted bit in there, so we do need a new bearing. That's a shame, that. You can see that very well. What it is. I'll put the focus on manual. Right, let's see if we can focus in on this. There you are. The bearings pitted in there, unfortunately. Bastard. The balls are starting to fall out now. That's not a good sign. Yeah, we'll get a bearing for it. Right, then when you look at the front bearing, there's actually the spreader that spreads the bearings apart. It's broken. Like a brass case, keeps the balls apart, broken, so it does need a pair of bearings.